Hello, welcome to the Dimp Digital Podcast. We're on episode number 60, and this time we've got myself, Apps, and Mark Smith Biff. Biff, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad.
Excellent. Now, I think it's best that we inform the audience that we've spent, the last 6 or so hours together. So we went... Let's explain it. We went travelling to a shopping centre together, which is, a bit wrong. Grabbed a bite to eat, watched a film, and that took 6 hours, apparently, doing that and going back. So I guess if we sound like we're sick of the sound of each other's voice, then, that's why, because that is far too long to spend in each other's company, I think, personally.
Well, I thought it was all right, but obviously you've left a bitter aftertaste for you, so you're not happy about it.
The best bit was the film, because it was silent. I didn't have to put up with it, but you
with the car door shut. And
yeah, exactly. It's pissing down with rain, but it's still better than the previous 5.5 hours. But we're here to discuss game, and you're here to talk about 2 specific topics. One is PlayStation VR, which we will get to in a moment.
Yep.
We will not stop talking about VR because it's exciting. But the other one is Fallout 4, because you've just completed it. My review of Fallout 4 has gone up on the YouTube channel, so head over to youtube.com/Dimp Digital to find that. Now, you've seen my review, Biff. You've seen that I gave it a silver rating, and it come down to, which is a good rating, but that was on the basis that, I didn't feel it showed quite enough ambition to move the series forward in the way I was sort of expecting or hoped. But you thought this rating was a little bit harsh, so I'm of the assumption that you really enjoyed Fallout 4.
Yeah, I did. I thought Fallout 4 was quality. I thought it was better than Fallout 3. And things they changed. Some of it worked. Some a few hit and misses, like anything. But yeah, overall, I thought it was a very good game. Again, it's the same as Fallout 3. Story's weak, but it's how you play the game that makes it what it is, really.
Yeah. So you mentioned it's better than Fallout 3, and I would totally agree with that. There's so many refinements, it's been possible to reel it all off and give everyone an idea of what's going on. But it's fundamentally a better game. But I guess the problem I had was that the experience of going through Fallout 3 for the first time has already happened for me. That kind of that exploration on that level, which is why I couldn't quite get to grips with giving it a higher rating. But you're saying that didn't bother you. You was happy to spend another sort of 50 plus hours in this world exploring. Did it feel the same as Fallout 3, or did it lose its edge a little bit?
It was I don't know, it was sort of similar, but because it's sort of hard to explain, it's sort of new but familiar. So I knew I was playing Fallout, but obviously it was new things to explore, new places to go. It wasn't sort of, I remember Fallout 3 being a lot of desert, and this was more sort of trees and forests and things like that. So
still a shithole.
Yeah. It wasn't a happy place to be, but yeah, still quite good.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing I did like. The wasteland itself, I thought looked amazing. It had a lot more variety to it. There was, like you said, there was forests, there was boglands, there was cities to go and explore, and it just felt a little bit fresh, and it actually had some colour to it, which was severely lacking in Fallout 3, sorry.
Yeah, and Fallout black and white, that game.
Yeah, it wouldn't have made it. It could have been on Game Boy. That's that sort of palette that was required to do that game. But we mentioned that it had improved, and I guess one place to start is the fundamentals. The things that I certainly noticed as soon as you start picking up a gun is the combat.
Yeah, I mean, that was the biggest change, really. I mean, that's sort of testament to the game, because part of the reason I love Fallout 3 was because the amount I used VATS and how good VATS was, and you could blow a limb off and make a whole body explode. Yeah. But I didn't really use VATS this time round.
No.
And I still really, really enjoyed the game. So they sort of changed. They completely changed it. VATS was still there. You could still use it, but I didn't really use it that much. I preferred just shooting.
Picking off headshots and because it was actually accessible this time.
Yeah,
which in previous ones, I mean, free. And I don't even think in free you could aim down sights. You couldn't do a lot of things, and it was just, if you were shooting outside of that, you had no hope.
No,
unless you're on top of them with a shotgun. That was it. Yeah. Whereas in this, you can actually fight from range. You can actually get in cover and pop out if you hold L2, and it will pop back in. Which you say it's not. You can't choose to go in cover. If you stand near enough to the edge, you can sort of pop out and pop back, which is nice. And I mean, the combat was greatly improved. It felt like, I wouldn't say it's the most refined shooter in the world, but it was easily accessible and workable for people.
Yeah, definitely.
That were new to the series. If you like a shooter, then this would fit the gap. If you like shooters and played Fallout 3, you probably would have been off put by the lack of functionality there.
Yeah.
One of the small tweaks they made in VATS was that the critical hits are now manual, aren't they? You build them up through shooting in VATS. Now, when I first heard about this, I must admit I was very sceptical. I liked the fact that a critical hit was random, that you just get rewarded suddenly and you go, yes, I've just knocked off another 30% of health. But I actually loved the critical hit system in this, the fact that you'd build it up and then you could choose when to use it. So if you was in a bit of a jam, you could hit that critical hit, and bang, and you could finish someone off basically with a headshot.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It was the amount of times I was in a sticky situation. I thought, oh, thank God I got that critical hit in the bank, and then just get a shotgun 2 foot away from his face, and then that'd be the end of him. Critical hit that. So yeah, I agreed as well. I think it was really good, actually. Good little bit. Because
you'd notice on Fallout 3 is that they said it was random, so your critical hit would be used on a fucking Radroach level 1. He's like, I did not need it used there. That was the one place I didn't need it.
I had that under wraps.
Don't start doing that. And then the mysterious stranger popped up as well, and I was like, fucking hell, was he rocked up and ruined it? But that's quite a cool perk to have. Another big thing they added, and this is something that they drove home when they actually announced the game at E3 last year, was the settlements piece. Now, I was quite critical of this part because I found it not very user friendly. It was complex. And the thing that disappointed me the most was I really liked the idea of this. I remember when it was first announced, going, this is going to be amazing. This is what I've wanted. And to me, it didn't deliver. How did you get on with the settlements piece? Because you can to a certain extent ignore it if you want to.
I mean, yeah, I didn't think it worked. I thought it just seemed more of a chore. It was just like, they need something again. I've got, it was like looking after a kid or something. It was a pain in the arse.
I'll set turrets up for you now. Deal with it. You don't need
Can't keep wiping arses. No. But I like the way that you would talk to a bloke and you'd say, this area would be really good for a settlement. Go and clear it out. She'd go in, clear it out, loot everything, set it up. But then you'd be walking around and go, oh, this settlement is help. They're under attack. Okay. And I'd rather just be able to turn it off and just be like, you know what, I've done my bit, do your bit. I can't keep.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm doing something else now.
Yeah. Stay on your own 2 feet. Cut the apron strings.
Yeah, exactly. And
done enough for you lot.
I quite like, because I built my own little house and I quite like that bit of it.
Yeah.
But I just had one house and that was it. I was done then. Once I'd spent an hour doing that, I didn't want to do that again.
Yeah.
And I think that they sort of, in the back of their head, they were thinking that you would do that for every settlement.
Yeah.
And it just ain't realistic. You ain't going to put that. I mean, that would turn it into a 200-hour game if you're doing that. You'd be there a week.
Yeah. I mean, I built my own house as well, and then I popped back one random evening. Some other fucker was in my bed. I don't know where he'd come from, but he was just laying in there, and I had to get him up. I was like, get out, it's my bed.
Yeah,
that was a bit annoying. Yeah, I mean, if the building part of it, so building the actual settlement, was maybe better implemented, do you think you would have spent more time in there? Because the reason it put me off was that it just felt very clunky to do anything and build anything that looked good. I know it's all shithole ingredients, but nothing snapped together. It was just, you had to walk around and try and get the right angle because it's all done through first person. I don't know, I just found it very difficult to get to grips with.
I thought it would have been better if you could have done it on your Pip-Boy, so it was like a little mini game.
Right.
So it was just like you said in your review, it would be more blocky.
Yeah.
So it just made it more simpler.
Grids that it's all, so you got grids like in Minecraft essentially. That would have been.
Yeah, because you would put a wall in and it would be pissed for another wall, and then you get inside and there's a 4 foot gap between these two walls. I didn't see that at that angle.
Yeah.
This is not going to keep anyone out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This is pointless. So yeah, I do agree. I didn't think it. I thought it was just not that well put together. But they'd obviously spent a lot of time on it. That was the weird thing. It wasn't something that was just added. No. It looked like they'd put a lot of thought into it, but I just don't think it worked. Really.
No, it was a shame because that was. I think that's probably why it probably lost the mark. I mean, if you've, like I said in the review, if you've never played a Fallout game before, go and play it. Like it'll be special playing through a game like this for the first time. But I was expecting the settlements to really push it forward and be, and soak up a lot of my time, and it just didn't grab me. Another kind of thing they did add into it, which is really good, was that you can now model your armor, you can craft new weapons, you can do all sorts, can't you? This customization that they gave you is fantastic. What you can do with your armor and your weapons.
I mean, I loved it. That was the best bit of the game for me. That is what put it to a new level. The fact you could get a gun that was crap and then turn it into an absolute devastator. And I really, really liked that. And I liked collecting all the little bits of shit and all the junk and then loading that off on dog meat, letting him carry that back to the settlement, and then building something great out of it. And I honestly, the amount of hours I've wasted just looking after just like a little bit of glue or something to just stick me stock to get. Do you know what I mean? Fantastic. I really like that bit. That was really good.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point you raise about the junk now had use.
Yeah, definitely.
Previously, I had about 1,500 cups that I'd camera and it had no use in Fallout 3. It was there. I think you could sell it for like half a cap or something. It was ridiculous. Whereas now, every single thing you pick up, you can put towards something to build, whether it's a gun, whether it's a bit of armor, whether it's a mod, whether it's part of the settlements. Everything had a use. And now there was a point to collecting all this shit. And definitely. And rather than just selling it all. One other piece that I didn't get on too well with, or I found a bit strange, was the power armor, because previous games, and correct me if I'm wrong here, I remember just slinging on power armor, and it was just like any other armor. You just put it on, you walk around, it buffs all your stats up, and you looked cool. This time, you had to fart about putting an atom proton. What was it? I can't remember what it's called now, but the one of those bloody power things. Anyway, just put a power core into it. And that had like an energy bar, didn't it, as you used it? And it was no longer something that you could just bung on and go out with. You had to think about, right, when am I going to use this power armor? When am I going to use it? Because if you run out of juice halfway through it, then slows you right down. You can't move. And I found that a bit frustrating, personally.
I thought it was sort of pointless. I don't understand why they've done it like that. I mean, in a way, I think it was so if you come across something and it was like a big base and you thought, I'm going to get the shit kicked out of me here, you'd go back, get your power armor, put it on, and then go back there. And I just thought, well, this is just a pain in the arse. I'll just take my chances and just do it. And like you say, you were conscious that your power armor was wearing down. So when you sprint, you could watch the battery fade away, and you think, "Fucking hell, I've only sprinted 100 yards, and I've halfway, I've lost 50% of my battery."
Yeah.
And then you have to put another power core into it. And like you say, if you haven't, then it dies, and then you're slow, and then it's just in the end, I just upgraded normal armor and just bowled around in that. It was much easier.
Yeah, I think I spent probably about, out of the 80 hours I played, 45 minutes in power armor. In one mission, I actually thought, right, I might need it for this. Went to the mission to try and do it. I couldn't fucking see or move or anything, and it was actually a hindrance. So I've just reloaded an old save and went back without it and done it easily. So
I mean, in my little house, I've got 6 full sets of power armor just standing there, just all looking at me as I go to bed.
Did you build like crafting bits for all of them then?
I just made all different ones. But
collector's item that is.
I should sell them. I'm skint with caps, but I've got 6 full suits of power armor sitting there.
Get rid of all that, mate. It's not offering anything. Another big entry was that the characters now speak, or your character speaks. So rather than choosing text, you choose a kind of out of 4 options really. It's sort of agree, disagree, or ask a question. And sarcastic. I like that it added a bit more depth to your character, but I did feel like it took away some of the freedom.
I didn't think it brought that much to it. It didn't really bother me. When I played Fallout 3, I didn't think, I wish I could hear him speak. It wasn't really a massive deal for me, to be quite honest. So, I think that was just something they added just to try and spice it up a bit and make it look a bit, make it so they can just something else they can say they've done to it. But to me, it didn't bring a lot to the game. No,
I mean, here's one thing that I found interesting. I didn't even know this. So, in Fallout New Vegas, if you set your intelligence to low, sort of like between 1 and 2, it would open up new sort of dialogue options to talk to people. So there'd be like special, almost thick dialogue options. So you'd say something really stupid, and then it would you could sometimes charm people into doing things, or you'd get a funny reaction out of the characters. Having the characters speaking, I felt like it. As I said, the freedom was restricted. Like I couldn't imagine them ever offering that option there for you.
Yeah,
it was just the 4 options each time, and it was a bit like some of the quirky dialogue that you could use in the previous ones and talking people round wasn't there in this one.
No,
just because it started opening his gob.
yeah. I mean, that's put a limit on it though, because otherwise the voiceover artist would have been there for fucking years. He'd still been there now recording it, wouldn't he? Really?
That is true. Apparently, it's got more dialogue than Fallout New Vegas and 3 put together, but I've yet to experience that. Cap things off here for Fallout. Got legendary enemies, which I think was a great addition. Essentially, they were overpowered enemies that you could randomly stumble across in the wasteland. You'd get them down to about half health, and then they would mutate, in quotation marks, go back to full health. Essentially, they were double hard bastards. If you killed them, you'd get a reward, i.e. a weapon or a bit of armor that had a perk attached to it. So it might give you 10% added on humans, or it could be random. And I thought this was a very, very clever idea, and certainly it kind of, when you saw one in the wasteland, you thought that is a risk taking him on, but the reward to get it is worth doing.
Yeah, it was good. But again, I had my fingers stung a few times where you'd battle him and then you'd get like a knife that was legendary and go, well, I'm not going to use that, so I've just literally used like 15 stim packs up and 200 shotgun shells for a fucking knife that I'm just going to sell and get 50 caps for. But overall, yeah, it was good, and I liked it as well. I liked the way that they dropped things, but it was like a little lucky bag. You never knew what you were going to get. Sometimes you got your fingers burnt, sometimes you took the glory.
Yeah, no, that is it. What did you make of the overall kind of quests? And I mean, without obviously spoiling it for people, but the quests and side quests that you can do and other activities, were they up to the sort of level you was expecting?
Yeah, it's the same as sort of The Witcher, where the side quests
are superb.
Yeah. And the main quest, you could not even do it. As soon as you get out the vault, you could just bin everything off and just have a wander around. Yeah. And you could do 50, 60, 70 hours and not even touch the main quest easily do that. We spoke about it before when we played The Witcher, and you do side quests in Assassin's Creed, which climb to the top of a tower, or it's just shit like that, and it's so boring and mundane. But this is what games should be doing with side quests. They should be interesting. They should make you want to do it. It shouldn't be a or to go and do it, and this is what they were. They were really, really good.
Yeah, no, my worry was they weren't going to be up to the same sort of standard as The Witcher, but they definitely were. They're up. They're two of the best at doing side quests as far as I'm concerned. Which kind of links me into my next question: is that there's DLC that's just dropped. So the first piece of the planned DLC, I think, is free dropping over the next 3 months. And I think it's called, I can't pronounce this very well, Automatron is the DLC. It essentially opens up some new quests about some robots that are being built attacking people, and one of the perks of getting this is that you can build your own robot companion. Now, you spent 40 hours, I think you said, on this playthrough. You'd spent 30 in a previous playthrough where you're claiming the game bugged out and you couldn't continue.
The fucking game bugged out.
Have you still got the save?
Let's leave it at that. I have still got the save, yes.
Well, I'm going to come around and investigate, because I'm not sure that's the case. I think it's that perk you got. But in any case, you spent a good, probably 70 hours, to round it up or down across both saves. And it's a testament that you've gone back and redone it all, because you were quite far into it the first time round. I'm surprised.
Well, it was touch and go for Fallout. It nearly got sold after that.
Yeah, that would.
But made it
in the end. So would you consider getting this DLC that's been released, or any of the future stuff that they're releasing, or now you kind of have you had your Fallout fix and you're happy just to push away from it and say that was it? Move on.
I'm going to get the DLC.
Really?
Yeah, I've read a couple of reviews. Again, it's the same sort of story. It says the story is a bit weak, but well worth getting, because there's lots more to see, lots more to discover, lots more to build. Yeah. Different armor perks, different weapons you can get, and to me that's what I enjoyed about the game. It wasn't the story. Yeah. I didn't think, this has got me gripped on the edge of my seat. No. So yeah, I'll definitely be getting it. I don't know what the other two are, but I would imagine they're sort of similar little add-ons with bits and bobs to it. Yeah. You can get a buddy now, can't you? With you can build your own robot.
Yeah. And
that's something you didn't mention either. That you didn't have that in Fallout 3. You did. You did have buddies, didn't you?
Yeah, companions. Yeah, but
yeah.
I felt like there was a lot more in Fallout 4, and you could. I got to a stage of a couple of them, with one of them rather, where I'd built a good. You could build relationships with them essentially by your actions would influence how they saw you. So if you do X, they agree with that. They were happy with that. If you did Y, they wouldn't be. And I managed to build a relationship with one of my companions, and what it actually did was open up a new quest related just to that companion, and it was like a backstory of what they had come from, and was going to go back and kind of clean up one of the messes that they had. So that's another thing, that the game is very deep in that perspective. If you want to try and befriend all your companions, I'm assuming a lot of them have got these kind of additional side quests where you can kind of get to a maxed out stage. But yeah, the DLC will let you build your own robot companion, which sounds cool if you're into all that. And the next 2 DLCs are coming out in the next couple of months. There's one, the third piece sounds like it's going to be a big piece. That's going to be a brand new kind of area you can go to. Second one sounds a little bit sketchy. It lets you capture creatures and humans and stuff, and then you can put them together in a blood sport. I mean, I don't think there's many quests associated with that. I think it's just workshop items that you can do this for, but that'll be quite fun. If you can set up your own blood sport arena, I'll be well up for that. But I gave it a silver. I imagine you would give it a high score. All in all, you're very happy with playing through Fallout 4.
Yeah, it was very, very good quality game.
Time well spent there. Now we've got time well spent. Will money be well spent? That's
what a smooth link that was. That was incredible how you done that.
Didn't even write it down. That's just off the cuff, that is. PlayStation VR. Now, we spoke about this last week, Logan Hall, myself. Got a bit of a bad rap, if I'm honest. It's easy to sort of jump on that bandwagon when others are slagging it off. Read out your very well-written statement. And it's obvious that you're a fan of this. You're excited. You're geared up for this. PlayStation VR. Let's start with the most obvious thing. In your opinion, is the price point acceptable? Like £350, no camera. So you're looking at what, £390 to £400 with the camera, which you need.
I think that is an answer that time will tell.
Right.
If it turns out to be another Kinect, then that is the biggest rip-off in history, and PlayStation could go to jail. If it's as big as what I think it will be, or hope it will be, then it could be a bargain.
Right. So you're expecting to try and get one of these so maybe day one or shortly after they release. You want one before the end of this year. So when they release in October, you're after one, aren't you?
If I haven't got one,
your mind's made up.
October, something's gone horribly wrong in my life. Something's gone drastically wrong. There's been a death in the family or something.
So, fucking hell. So, is there anything that can put you off from getting this? Like, could a bit of information come out, or could reviews, like, say it gets to October and there's a hands-on review and they're not as favourable? Would you go, or you're like, no, I don't care what people say. I'm into this. London Heist has done it.
London Heist done it. You know. No, I'm definitely getting it. I don't. It doesn't bother me. Unless they say it literally comes out and it goes, this, I turned it on and it didn't even work. Right. I was just looking at my own TV and it's just a visor basically with a sheet of glass and you just look at your own TV.
Which you know it's not.
yeah, which I know. So I mean, I'll be getting it. I'll definitely be getting it. I can't see me not getting it due to a bad review.
No. So you went as far to say is that you think it will change gaming and that all things will lead down this route.
Yeah.
That's a very strong statement. Do you actually believe that, or were you just trying to get us a good statement and soundbite for the podcast?
No, I mean, I'm obviously not got a crystal ball, but there's so many different companies that are putting money into VR. Yeah. It's not like, I just don't think it will be a sort of hit and miss. You know, I know Apple are putting money, Facebook have done something. There's Samsung, there's Oculus, there's PlayStation VR, there's what's the really expensive one?
Vive, HTC Vive.
Yeah, HTC Vive. I mean, there's so many different companies doing it. And I just feel like it really will be. I feel, probably in the next 10, 15 years, you might even have a telly. You might just have everyone would sit there with a virtual reality. I know it's very sort of social, but
more the better. The more unsociable I can get, the better.
Gamers aren't social people, so they're not bothered about that. So, but I honestly, I think it will be quite a big deal.
So you mentioned a few points there. It'll replace a telly. So you're thinking about this perhaps not just being used for game, but for other things, because there's mentions that there's kind of like a cinema mode in this where you can pop the headset on and it's going to almost simulate us going to the cinema again and watching a film almost in your room.
I mean, imagine how good that would be. I mean, obviously we've spoken to Bud online. He lives in Australia, but how good would it be if he had sort of a little avatar that represented him sitting in a Odeon or a cinema? There are other film venues are available. So he's sitting in there, and I would come into the same place, sit there with my little avatar, and we could watch the same film and speak to each other on a headset, watching the same film. I mean, that would be fantastic. That is such a cool thing.
Yeah. And that's nothing to do with gaming.
Exactly.
That's
that's
a social thing.
That's just a social thing. And if you had, I mean, we have like our little gay film nights where we have 4 or 5 people over and we get a takeaway and we watch a film together. You could do that again, not as social, but you could do that sort of on a whim and just everyone.
You wouldn't have to have us around treading all mud into the house and all that.
Exactly, yeah. And
so
just
stay at home, put your headset on, and I'll see you online in 20 minutes.
If I have enough, I can just walk out the cinema and fuck you off.
Exactly. No messing around with food, having to go, what we ordering, what you get, what you want. Get it ready and just get on in 20 minutes.
Exactly.
And we're going to sit there and watch Terminator.
And then, like, the fact you'd be sitting there in a lounge on your sofa but watching something on an 80-inch screen.
Yeah.
But it's not there. Do you know what I mean? That blows my mind that you're watching something it'll tell your brain that you're somewhere you're not, watching something on a screen that doesn't exist, but you'll feel like you're there. I mean, that's going to be incredible.
Yeah. Or you're playing something. So you're playing Uncharted 4 on an 80-inch screen.
If that
works,
it'll put your telly to shame. That's the only thing.
They're getting cheaper and cheaper anyway. That's the way I look at it. But yeah, that's the point for me. I think it's going to be that would appeal to me more. That is what appeals to me more, is being able to pop a headset on, put on any game that's not VR, because I'm not totally confident there's going to be a load of really good VR games out there, but being able to play a current game that I enjoy and have it, you know, projected on this massive screen in front of me, in front of my eyes, and if that looks as good as my TV, then there would be no reason for me to switch my telly on anymore, apart from just to boot the thing up. Like that is more appealing, that it can offer that avenue for gaming. You can fundamentally improve every single game that you've already got and played by just popping the headset on, if it works, you know, in that way. That for me is more important than any VR games, because as much as I enjoyed my experiences with VR games, I personally see there's only a few different types of games that are going to work with it, and I think it's going to be a little bit restricted in what you can and can't do. And I'm not convinced we're going to get, you know, we're not going to get a game on the level of Fallout ever in VR. You know, well, maybe not ever, but not, you know, in the next few years.
Yeah.
So I kind of find that part of it much more interesting. I'm very keen to see how that works. If I come round yours October, I'll put the headset on, you go play Uncharted 4, and I'm playing it on a cinema in front of me, and it's huge, then I can't see how I couldn't be tempted.
Well, how you're not going to be able to go home and play on a 30-inch screen, are you? And go, well, this is shit, because Biff hasn't even got an 80-inch screen, but he's playing it on an 80-inch screen.
Yeah,
and that'd annoy you even more.
Yeah, so I'd have to look at getting one. So that's sort of like a side part of what VR can offer. The actual games themselves. You played London Heist. That's what's planted the seed. What side do you fall on? Do you feel like you want more from the gaming side, as in VR fundamental games that where you're using your hands, you're moving your head, that sort of things, or are you in the sort of the cinema mode thinking that's going to be better, or is it a bit of both for you?
Yeah, it's a bit of both. I must admit, I think with the VR, it will change. So you won't have things like first-person shooters. It will change games. You won't be able to do a first-person shooter.
As we know it.
As you know it will change it. So it won't...
Someone's going to have that light bulb moment, aren't they?
Yeah.
And it's something that's going to be like, bang, you've never even played a game this way before, but now try this.
Yeah, and I think that is what will happen. It won't... People are thinking, I'll be able to play, you know, the Drakes... Drakes, yeah. Uncharted. You won't be able to play Uncharted and Fallout and COD. It won't be like that. It will change everything. I think there'll be, like you say, a light bulb moment. Someone will make a game and everyone will just be like, this is amazing. This isn't like anything we've ever done before. Yeah. And I'm doing it in my lounge, in my pants on a summer's day. You know, it's going to be... I think it really will be good. And I don't necessarily think, because... Obviously, I've read a lot about it, and the HTC Vive is a lot of money, but it's a much better system. I don't necessarily think it will be the system, and the best system will win. It will be who has that light bulb moment and who makes that game and who can make it makes it accessible. Yeah, it's like technology in the past, when not the best technology has won. It's been the you know, Betamax and VHS. Apparently Betamax was better, but VHS had films people wanted to watch. Therefore, that technology won, even though it was worse. So, because PlayStation is so accessible to so many people, I feel that will be the one to go for, because there'll be more to do on that. They'll make more things for that than they will for the higher-end products. Yeah,
that's my... I speak to Dave Salmon a lot about this, and that's the argument I have with him, that I feel like, you know, it won't necessarily be the best bit of kit that wins. It's going to be what has the best software lineup.
Yeah, I agree, absolutely. I
who
think
can provide the best experiences. If they can all do cinema mode, or whatever we're going to call it, then fine. It's going to come down to what games are better. But if only PlayStation can do cinema mode, or they've got an integrated kind of bit where you can download movies and watch, you know, new releases and stuff, then that's going to help it. There's a lot of factors that go into it. One last question on this: Do you feel like there's only room for one VR headset main player, or because there's three main ones at the moment? We're not going to include Samsung Gear, as good as that experience offers you. That we're talking about, you know, a bit higher end stuff here. Do you feel like there's enough room for Oculus, PlayStation, and HTC, or do you think there's going to be a casualty out of those three where one of them's going to fall away, or two of them maybe, and there's going to be a market leader that's going to piss it?
No, I reckon there'll 2 or 3. It'll be the same sort of thing where if people had, you know, Sega or Nintendo or PlayStation or Xbox, it'll be the same. You know, what did you go for? What did you choose? Unless one of them, you know, really does cock it up, and you know, like I remember there was PlayStation 2, Xbox, and then GameCube, and GameCube they just weren't even in the same ballpark, was they? So unless something like that happens,
Well, again though, that's one of the things that PlayStation 2, that particular generation, pissed it. Best selling console that's run, not the most powerful, nowhere near the most powerful.
Well, it's the same with the 360. The PS3 was a better system than what the Xbox 360 was, but 360 had stuff that people wanted to play, and it won, didn't it? Really?
Yeah. Well, you look at the Wii; that is worse than all of them, and that pissed it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's what you need to know.
So there's your backup points. The best tech doesn't always win; it's the worst tech that wins. That's how you get behind this game. Build something shit and cheap, and people go, "Yes." I'm absolutely all over that. I think that's enough for PlayStation VR. I think you've given it a good pitch, and it's nice to have someone on that's positive about it, and nice to have someone on that's actually going to commit to it. Because we can all sit there and go, "I'm going to this one looks the best," this is the best. Someone's actually going to plonk their money down, or plonk someone else's money down. It might be in your case to get this. Then I think that's great that you're going to put your money where your mouth is. You're on board this, and it's good to see. And I'm going to be spending a lot of time around the house to experience this, and pretty much take over the lounge. Maybe do a few live casts there. Get some details of what's going on. But anything more for PlayStation VR before we close this particular segment down?
No, I think we've said enough.
Exactly, you have said enough. So come October, hopefully Mark Smith-Biff will have his PlayStation VR, and we can all get some hands-on experience about and feedback of how it's gone for you. I think that's it, mate. We've covered off our 2 topics that we was aiming for. We've done it in reasonable amount of time. So thanks very much for joining me, and I'll speak to you again soon.
Yep, no worries. I'll see you later, Joe.
So I've now got Adkins and Logan here to talk to us about The Division. We all of us 3 have gone out and bought it. Adkins has powered through it. You had it since day after launch, haven't you, Adkins?
2 days after launch.
2 days after launch, and you've completed the main campaign, but still left a load of shit to do. So we're going to just put you on the sidelines for a moment whilst me and Mr. Crow have to get rid of you, because you're going to have a different perspective from me and Logan, who have played 8 to 10 hours. I'm not sure. I think mine's at 10 maybe.
Mine's probably similar.
Yeah, not too far away. So what are your impressions so far? When we've unlocked the base of operations, and it seems like it's time to go off and start building that up and do missions and whatnot. But it's still about the gameplay. How do you feel that The Division plays? Because you played the beta as well.
Yeah. It plays well. I quite like it. It feels quite smooth. I think the gameplay is probably one of the strongest elements of it to a certain extent. I think it looks good. The guns I'm still trying to get my head around, because
they're just guns,
the recoil on them. Well, the recoil, especially on the assault rifles and things, is just monumental. And it might be because I'm at a stage of it where they're just dreadful, and that's understandable. But yeah, I'm getting used to that slowly, I think. And the cover system works quite well, although some people choose to use it and some don't for some reason. I don't understand that. But
no fingers being pointed at Mr. Adkins decides that cover is not required a lot of the time.
I don't understand how you can go, right, they're shooting at me, I'm just going to stand here and have a firefight. Use the cover. I don't understand
fire with fire. That is fine. Kill or be killed.
I do like it. I've still got this nangering. That's a ningling and lingering doubt all in one about this sort of just loading people up with bullets, and the pink and purple, yellow and red dudes as to how hard they are. I'm not yet convinced about that, but at the same time I haven't really consciously thought about it and gone, right, what's going on here? This is ruining it for me. It doesn't. I mean, when you're in it with your mates or whatever, you don't really give a shit. You're just sort of trying to get them all killed. So that lingering doubt I had about it, I think, dissipated a bit.
So that's gone, because that was one of your major concerns, that you just load 4 clips into someone, they wouldn't go down. I am much in the same boat. I don't see it doesn't feel like a problem. It was a bit jarring at first, but you soon accept it for what it is, and at heart it is an RPG really, so realism tends to go out the window, even though it's based in a realistic kind of area. Mr. Adkins, you've played through it, you've finished it. Have you gone back since finishing it to do any post game stuff, just cleaning up and leveling up? Is that is that hook there to keep pulling you back in despite you now finishing it?
There is and it ain't.
He's written it off.
It is lacking in this end game material, and
Right.
I know a lot of people have already said that.
Dark
Like
Zone.
they're going to sort that out a bit, but I've only gone back and done a few of them little encounters just to try and fully upgrade the base and stuff. But once the main game is done,
Yeah.
unless you're playing with friends, like I say, it is quite lacking the end game material.
So have you ventured into the Dark Zone much during your adventures? Because that's obviously a separate leveling area for you to go into. Have you spent much time in there?
I popped in, had a little browse for about 10 minutes, and got my absolute arse handed to me.
Wow.
It is an absolute fucking disaster in there.
You can't go there on your own.
No, that's what I thought. I thought I need my boys.
So a lot of people are saying... So go on.
I was you can't go by my tactics. Lone wolf, run and gun.
No, not going to work, is it? Rushing people with shotguns in there. So that is where I see a lot of people spending their time post main game. So once they've got, out of the quote unquote PvE area, once you've sort of cleared that down, I think a lot of people will then head into the Dark Zone to try and level their character up there. So maybe that's what they're expecting people to do. Would you if me and Logan got to that stage with you, would you be interested in doing that and working on your Dark Zone level, or is it just too intimidating for the dirty pigeons?
Oh yeah, no, that's what I'm waiting for you boys to get up to scratch, so then we can tackle that. Because at the minute I can't do it on my own, so that's why I've put it to the side. But that's something I want to work towards, is because I like the idea that it is a separate ranking level, so you can all rank up at the same time, so we're not going to be too far.
No.
But with the main game, you sort of got that sort of checklist of missions that you're doing.
Yeah.
With this, it's not there's not really much to do other than sort of your daily missions. That's it. All you're really working towards is just sort of getting better guns and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, that's an interesting point. You come on. I mean, a lot of people will say this, and it's been said plenty of times. You're saying you won't go in there on your own, but for the game itself, Mr. Krogum, you jumped on this morning without me. You went and jumped in with a random party on your own without, say, someone that you actually know. Is this offering enough for you to go on and do bits and bobs? Would you be happy to play this completely on your own, just randomly matchmake, or do it completely solo? Would that ever be an interest? Say if me and Adkins binned it, essentially. It's just going to that scenario.
Yeah.
So you're stuck with it like that. So is it then going to be an interest?
It'd be more difficult because you're kind of at the mercy. I wouldn't do it solo because I think, there's too much going on for it to be for me to sit there and do it solo. I would always do it or try and get in a party. I've done that twice now. I've randomly match made, and the first one I did. The first one I did, they were sort of following me, so I was like, right, I can dictate terms here in what we're doing. But the one I joined earlier, I was at their mercy, and I was sort of going, right, where are we going? Literally within about 10 seconds of being in there, I was in a mission, basically. They'd started one off, and I was like, right, what am I doing?
Yeah.
And I just find I don't know where I was. I hadn't got my bearings. So there's two sides to it. So I think I would have to do it with other people. I wouldn't just throw it by the wayside, but I'd end up completing it with some randoms, I think, and then probably end up binning it because, I say that you can matchmake to go into the Dark Zone in a party as well.
Yeah.
So that could be an option. I'd probably check it out, and then I reckon I'd probably go fucking hell and bin that off. But
so one question for me about the Dark Zone is if you party up, can you go rogue on each other? Or is friendly fire disabled? You can't.
I don't think you can.
Wow, there's a lot of thinking going on. Is there a lot of
your dreams of roguing me up is over.
It's over. What I was going to do is wait till Adkins got in there and then just blast him in the back and then run off.
Take all his gear and take the title.
Yeah, if that's the case, that'll be a disaster. One thing I have been surprised at is that once, say we jump on, we've done a few missions together, then everyone will obviously go off and do that thing everyone does for 20 minutes and go through their gear, sort out their inventory. That's half an hour gone just fucking about in there afterwards. But even once you guys have gone offline, I still sometimes find myself roaming around the city just doing the odd encounter. So it does have elements there that actually interest me on my own. I wouldn't be able to do the whole game like that, but it's not.
No.
Destiny for me, when I played that, was do or die co-op. Anything. I wouldn't go out and do a bloody bounty. I wouldn't do anything on my own. Whereas the Division for me is pulling me in a way that I could. If you guys online, I could still jump on for an hour and still enjoy it. Which I think
the mix that they've done is really good. Like you say, when you're not doing the main missions, it really does appeal to solo play.
Yeah.
But when you tackle their big missions, one mission specific, the one where you're going through like an underground thing and all the bodies.
Sure.
That mission, there's a part in that mission where you have to pick something up and carry it to a machine.
Yeah.
That is built for co-op.
Yeah.
Tackling that on your own would be disastrous.
Yeah, because when you pick up the item, you can't shoot, so you'd have to keep picking it up, putting it down, picking it up, putting it down. So they've definitely designed the main missions with co-op in mind. But I just like the fact that I can switch the Division on, and if no one's online, it's not a complete disaster. I can go and get stuff done. I can go out and do stuff. Logan, you don't like things being overcomplicated. You've constantly said you want things simplified, particularly with Call of Duty. You're scared that they're going to chuck all shit on top of Titanfall 2. But this is a very complex game. It's got like a deep RPG system. You've got weapon mods, item crafting, gear upgrades, gear mods with slots that you can put all sorts of crap in. How are you finding this? Because I thought this might completely just overwhelm you, and you'll go, this is too much, I ain't interested.
Yeah, it's not too bad once you get into it, but there is a lot going on. So once you've got that weapon, you go, right, what's its damage per minute or damage per second or whatever, and you go, right, okay, I've got that. Then you start trying to figure out which attachments are the best, which then boost it up, and you're going, fucking hell, what am I doing?
Yeah.
It is quite hard, and I think we were sitting there and we were like, right, what's this gear mod? What does that do?
Yeah.
Like it doesn't handhold you through the upgrade process or anything like that. It just goes, right, off you go.
Yeah.
Really, and you're left to your own devices to try and figure it out. But I think I'm slowly getting there with it, that the upgrades for the main base affect your perks and your talents that you've got in the background, and what you upgrade affects different things. And then it does. One thing I'm confused about with it is that it brands itself as a cover shooter, but it's still
use it.
Well, this is now what I don't understand, is that then it gives you shotguns and SMGs, and I think, okay, that's fair enough.
Diversity.
Well, this gives you diversity, but it doesn't really. It gives you them weapons to say, right, go and tackle some of these people head on. But if you go up to them with a shotgun or an SMG, I reckon, especially some of these yellow or purple bastards, you'll just get put down instantly. So I don't understand how it rewards you at the moment for being a bit more aggressive.
I use my shotgun, for example, as like a secondary weapon. So when people rush you, which they often do on this, one of their tactics is the AI will fucking bum rush you when they get a chance, is to then lay it on them then when they get close to me, rather than charge at them and do it. And you can use tactics such as using like a flashbang on an opponent, disorientate them, then rush in and do some real damage on them.
I haven't worked out this sort of fucking.
Well,
I haven't used any grenades yet. I don't think. It's all full up. All my chocolate bars, water. Yeah. I'm fucking carrying a lot because I ain't figured that out yet.
Yeah.
Med kits I could deal with, but this fucking system they've got going on for chocolate bars and energy bars and grenades is ridiculous. Like, the problem is they have. I'm going around that city, mate. I'm like a fucking ice cream van for it. Honestly, I'm going around going, right, who wants all this? Because I ain't using it.
Yeah.
It's just, and the problem is that all the buttons are kind of taken up. So your L1 and R1 that you'd normally use probably for grenades and stuff is for your perks or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
So they can't use them. You can't use the back buttons. So they've run out of that's it. They've run out of shit to be able to go, right, there's a grenade. So they've made it quite complex. You have to fucking select it somehow with a right D-pad button, I think, and then you can throw it. But in the it's just there's too much going on, so I haven't bothered. And it by the looks of it, they're not really worth having anyway. You might as well just worry about fucking pummeling them with bullets. So for me, Granadas and stuff are dead. I've written them off because it made them too hard. You can't sit there when you're fucking getting pummeled and you're undercover and you're thinking, bloody hell, you go, right, I need a chocolate bar, and I need to get out my flashbang granada. I also need to select these incendiary bullets so that they put them down quicker. You go, I ain't going to be able to do that. So the one thing I would say is that I wish it had some hierarchical system where you can, or at least button allocation, which you probably can do, to be fair. But if you go, right, the first thing I want to use up is my med packs, and then can you please use up my chocolate bars, water, and then, do you know what I mean? I don't know.
That
make
would
it
not
a bit
work.
easier for me.
That would not work. Imagine if you didn't want to use up, you wanted your chocolate bar to give you a perk, and all you had was med kits, and you wasted them. It needs to be. For those listening, it ain't that hard. Logan's having a nightmare for some reason.
There's too much going on with these chocolate bars and giving you additional percentages on certain things. I think, what's that doing?
Well, it's giving you 20% extra damage on elite enemies. That's what that's doing.
Yeah, I don't go, right, there's an elite over there. I'm not going to shoot him. Let me just get behind cover. Right, where's that chocolate bar I had in this backpack? There's me fucking rustling it through. I'll put that gun on the side there, get me backpack off the back, have a little rummage through, go, right, where's that
doesn't happen.
Bar?
That does not happen. You just hold the right D-pad, you use your right stick to select it and let go, and it will do it. It's not that difficult. You're moaning about something that's not even an issue to the game. It's giving people that want to use different tactics, I guess, options. But enough of that. That's nonsense. You might as well ignore the last 5 minutes. Everyone that was listening. That was complete rubbish. That was. One thing that disappointed me from when I first booted this up was the lack of customization on your character, because considering it is a multiplayer game, you're going to be bumping into people. Everyone looks the fucking same nearly. I put a neck tattoo on him. I didn't want him to have one, but I thought it's the only way he's going to look any different is if he's got a great big neck tattoo coming up him.
Then you put a fucking scarf on, so yeah, that's gone.
That's gone, yeah, that has gone. I've got to have all attire on at all times. It's cold out there. And so that was very disappointing, actually. I was hoping they would have quite a robust character creation system like you'd expect with most of these.
They've got more on FIFA.
They've got more on FIFA, absolutely right. I mean, any game, that's probably the most basic customer character creation I've seen for a long time. Long time, especially in a game like this where, like I said, it's very social, so you're going to be bumping into others in the hubs, and you see your fucking doppelganger walk out the door, you think, what's going on here? This is complete bollocks. Yeah. Well, on the map itself, I mean, Adkins, you love a collectible. There is a shitload of stuff for you to get here, and what I like is a lot of it is actually audio stuff, so you haven't got to sit there and read it. It'll actually play it out. Do you think you're going to clear down the map and try and get all these little collectibles? It does actually give you a decent backstory as to what's happened. I mean, we know a virus is hit, but you get to understand some of the finer details about what's going on, which I obviously appreciate.
Yeah, no, I really like the setting of the game. I think it's more engaging compared to something like Destiny. There is a perk, I think it's called like the Canine perk, where it does sort of highlight all these collectibles for you, so you're aiming to start going, oh, where the fuck is that last bloody echoes? Yeah. So you know where everything is on the map, so it gives you a bit of a sort of countdown as to when you're going to get it completed. But yeah, that's definitely, I want to complete that whole map. That is the aim of the game.
That is the aim of the game. Mr. Logan, I'm going to come to you. This is the question that everyone's been asking. You're probably the best served sitting on here to answer this. Although you've not played a lot of the Division, you can still give your opinion on this matter. A lot of people comparing it to Destiny. That's what people are saying. Saying it's very much like it. Do you see this yourself? Do you see the similarities? And do you like this, I guess, is the second question.
It is similar, yeah.
Is it better then?
Well, I don't really know yet.
Yes, so he will cut you.
I think it's got more variety, and I think it's got a better story, obviously, because Destiny had zero story, so anything is better than nothing. But I think the trouble with Destiny was that the gameplay on it was so solid, and you've got to bear in mind that this is a third-person shooter. That was a first-person as well, so it's a bit different in that respect. And I know it probably seems minimal to most people, but to me, there's a large difference between a third-person and a first-person shooter. Oh,
there is, yeah. There's people out there that prefer they're completely different games and they all control differently. So I typically prefer the third-person, whereas I'd imagine you prefer a first-person.
Yes, agreed. Yeah, I do. And again, I think I've said this before, I don't understand sometimes a third-person shooter, but I think this one is better third-person. I think it would be worse as a first-person shooter, so I like that. In all honesty, the only real similarity I think there is with Destiny and it is probably quite fundamental, is this: you're a level, they're a level, and you've got different tiered enemies. And that's probably pretty consistent across most RPG games anyway. So I wouldn't. Destiny's probably the most. Well, the social aspect of it, I think, is far beyond that was available on Destiny. And it was one of my biggest fucking gripes, was that they didn't put in a proper matchmaking system to be able to do the raids. And I mean, Hall will probably have a fucking massive bitch about this, and Destiny Dave. But
he won't
I
listen.
just didn't. I just don't think it was good enough, and I just don't think they made it easy enough. Like, you could, if you wanted to do some of the missions, you just sort of drop in. You might be doing it by yourself, you might have another person there, or there might be free, and you just might be dropped in halfway through. You couldn't get that match-made party together before you did the mission, and I think that's what I was trying to test out really on the Division, is this matchmaking system they've got to be able to go around and do things. And the Division is much more of an open world game than Destiny was. Destiny was sort of a linear game, I think, with some open world attached on.
Yeah, regions, wasn't it? It's locked off regions.
Yeah, and you couldn't. This is a whole big city which you can go around and do what you like as and when you want. And Destiny wasn't like that. Yeah. So I think, as I say, I think I said it before, I think the Division is a more well-rounded game from my initial gameplay than Destiny was. Destiny relied very heavily on having a big party, and you getting that addiction to want to go there, get that chest, to have a chance at getting that weapon. Yeah. That's what Destiny was about, I think, personally. Yeah. And this isn't about that necessarily, because it's about being with your friends and completing it with your mates, but there is elements to it where you can sit there on your own. There's the dark zone, which we're yet to even get to. Yeah. And I think, as you say, on Destiny, you didn't really sit there for half an hour faffing about with all your gear. It was quite clear and obvious which had the most light armor, which was better, and you could just equip that in 10 minutes, if that, really. That's generous. Play around in the tower and go. Whereas on this, you sort of have a faff around, you do a bit of crafting, you see what's going on. Yeah. You can walk outside, look at some doggies, and I don't know. I think it is a better all-round game.
Yeah, I like the fact that it's just set in an open world and you can just wander wherever. And if you're online, I can just drop into your map. It's very slick that you can do that. It's easy to matchmake. It's easy to get together. There's no faffing, it seems. It's very, very straightforward. Once you're all in a map, whoever the leader is, it just populates their map icons on the other parties, and you can replay stuff and help people. And it's just there's a lot of options there. There's a lot of different ways people can go through and experiment and play this game. Adkins, final word for you, because you're going to leave us in a moment, and me and Logan are going to be staying on to talk about Rise of the Tomb Raider. Overall, you finished the game. Positive on the Division?
Yeah, very positive. Yeah, I didn't think after finishing Destiny on my own, which was a grind, I was a bit worried about this game. I watched you play it when you streamed the beta. Yeah, and coming away from that, I lost a bit of hope in it. To be honest.
Bad streamer is what people are saying.
But something, I was watching a few people on Twitch play it, and then all of a sudden the hype train steamrolled through Tom City.
Oh, so I didn't build your hype for it. I dampened it, and you watched some other random fuckers, and they built up.
What is that?
Okay, now don't say that. Come on.
That is.
That is exactly what's happened.
That's exactly what's happened. Real disaster there.
For goodness sake, let's get. You're off now. We're going to end it on that. the Division. I think we're all reasonably positive about it. We're all enjoying it, and I think me and Logan will report in once, or maybe we'll all report in with a Dark Zone segment at some point in the future when we've had a good go at it, and if we actually go back after our first, venture in there, we can talk about our experience and how we feel that can add another dimension to it. Because so far, it sounds like we've all played the core game, quite a bit, but there's another whole world out there which we haven't experienced, which is interesting and exciting for us. But Mr. Adkins, you can leave us now. Thanks very much for joining us on this particular segment of the podcast.
Cheers, mate. Bye.
So that's Mr. Adkins shot of. Got rid of him. He's no longer required. Surplus to requirements, as you'd put on an old champ manager. as their
transfer
status.
listed.
Yeah, transfer listed, surplus to requirements. really lay the boot on them. But we're here now to. This is more of an experiment, isn't it? I've played through Rise of the Tomb Raider. I was thinking of I was going to do a bog standard video review for it, and then I thought, well, let's try and involve someone else. Let's try and have this as almost as a two-way conversation. Let's answer questions that people are likely to ask about Rise of the Tomb Raider, because in a review,
ignorant loading installed. So what tends to happen with review is I put things that I think are important, but not necessarily covers other people's perspectives, either people that haven't played the game or people that have played the first one. So the aim of this review, I guess, is to try and cater for that and see if it works. It might be a complete disaster, so I guess there's no point faffing around and delaying this. Let's hit it off. Logan's going to basically interview me as part of this, and I'm going to answer the questions, and we're hopefully going to cover off a lot of things to do with Rise of the Tomb Raider, and we can see whether it works or not. So, Logan, do you want to? I'll hand over to you, and you can now lead this particular segment. New host installed. Let's go for it. New host better.
Well,
unlikely. We've been here before with me hosting. It hasn't gone well, so.
Yeah.
Fucking can't keep control of it, but I suppose we'll try and keep a familiar.
I know what you mean. Familiar kind of structure.
Already chucked it. Yeah, familiar structure. So what we need to do is get your cards on the table.
Yeah, so I guess my history with Tomb Raider is that let's go back to the classic Tomb Raider. So before the reboot, I think it's 2013, I only played through Tomb Raider 2, and I enjoyed it. I was very young at the time, very difficult. I cheated to get to the last level and couldn't do it because it wouldn't let you bypass that level on invincibility, so I never completed it. But going back to a more relevant game, I have played Tomb Raider, which was rebooted by Square Enix, a few years ago, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was a great game, and it was very good. It was up there. Looked like it was trying to rival Uncharted, and it done a decent job of contending for that. I guess I played this on the Xbox One. At the time, it was an Xbox One exclusive. It's now on PC, and we expect it to come to PlayStation 4 later this year. And that's probably about it, really. There's only those two bits, really, that are relevant to my previous history with this particular franchise.
Right, okay, so you've sort of played it before, and you've sort of experienced the Tomb Raider puzzle and shooting combination, which I think is similar in Uncharted as well. Yeah,
a bit lighter in Uncharted, but definitely features more prominently in this game.
Yeah, so I think if you can sort of talk us through the game a little bit, what you thought were the good points to start off with, and what you saw from it when sort of your first impressions as well would be interesting to understand.
Yeah, so when you first switch it on, you boot up your Xbox One. It's going to look even better on PC, but it looks fantastic. You're introduced to a snowy kind of mountain. It's all you leave footprints. There's deep snow that you can fall through, and it slows you down. But honestly, the environments, the characters, they all look absolutely fantastic. So when you first put it on, the presentation part of it is great, and it performs really well as well. It doesn't chug in the frame rate. It's quite smooth. It's not quite 60, but it doesn't drop below 30, which I think is more important these days. That it's a consistent piece. And yeah, I guess the points I liked about it was that it was very familiar to the first game, the first reboot, I should say, and because that was a good game. That was a good game itself. There was not really much need to change it. The combat is familiar if you've played those games. It's kind of a loose cover system, so there's no sticky cover like was just, if you talk about something like The Division, that you stick to the cover. This, you just crouch near the cover and you're in it, and you can pop out using it. So it's a little bit more dynamic there, and you'll be introduced to about 2 to 3 open-ish worlds. Now, there's not cars rolling around. You're in the wilderness of Siberia, so you're in mountains, there's valleys and whatnot. There's a good variety of locations there, but they're quite big, and in those areas you can go off and explore. You can go off and do collectibles. You can go off and do side missions even they've introduced, and there's also optional tombs there for you to do, which I found the best. They were my favourite part of this, and they're pure puzzle solving. You'll enter a tomb, you have to get to a certain point, and you have to work out how you can manipulate your surroundings and manipulate the bits and pieces there to get to that point. finish an optional tomb and you'll get a reward. You'll get a perk that you can add to Lara, and she'll increase something on us, one of her attributes, because there is some light role play sort of RPG elements to this, in the fact that you can upgrade and level up Laura as well, which is good.
Yeah, that was one of the things I'm glad you sort of led on to that, because one of the things I was going to say is that Lara Croft traditionally has been a sort of traditional sort of shooter and puzzle solving game.
Yeah.
There's been elements of using crossbows and things like that as it's developed, but I think this one sort of actively encourages you to sort of go scavenging and picking things up and crafting and leveling up, which is not probably what we'd usually expect from a Tomb Raider game. And how do you think that adds to it? Do you think that you know what I'm like, I think we've just mentioned Division as well. I don't like people keep piling shit on a game to the point where it's encompassing so many different things it loses a bit of its identity. So does this still feel like a great Tomb Raider game?
I guess it's very different to the classic Tomb Raiders. Like, if you put them together, they're night and day. Not just for the way they look, but the way they play. And you're right to ask me, is that a good thing? Now, this does certainly present you with more options. You know, you can build Lara in such a way that she'll react differently and be stronger in certain aspects of a game than others, and you can customize her. So I prefer having options personally. You know, I like the fact that you get an option and you can upgrade her and change her and whatnot. If you're not into all that, then this is probably going to be a bit of an aggravation, because it does focus. It's quite prominent, especially in the early parts of the game, because you want to get her up to scratch. You compare it to something like Uncharted. You have Nathan Drake, who is just Nathan Drake. You know, his abilities are all the same all the way through. You pick up weapons, and that's the only way you can sort of progress. Whereas this, you're constantly building Lara Croft up from the ground up. One of my main annoyances, I will say though, is that having played through the first game, very similar, it uses the same ideas, the same kind of crafting elements and the upgrades, but one of my main annoyances was that when you start this game, everything's reset. Like, there's no explanation to why she's lost certain skills in the last 3 years, and that's a little bit of continuity there. It does bother me. It's a cheap way of making you do it all again, I find.
Yeah, so there's no continuity between the game that was released a couple of years ago and this one.
Not in terms of how skilled she is, no, because she seems to have forgotten everything. Like, the story's still there. The story kind of carries on. There's characters that you'll meet that you might recognise from the first one, but in terms
reset button installed.
Yeah, in terms of skills, I don't know what she's been doing. She must have been on the piss for the last 3 years.
Yeah, it's a shame. So I think that's sort of covered some of the positives. It leads nicely onto some negatives. I mean, one of the things that I saw was that people really enjoyed doing the puzzles on it, and people enjoyed doing that. But there's also a lot of combat, and some people found themselves going, right, okay,
it's a botherance.
Just going through it just so you can do the next puzzle. And that also Lara becomes almost Terminator-like. She becomes invincible, and you can just sort of stroll through it. And how do you feel about? Does it reward you for being stealthy, or is it just talk me through it?
Yeah, so one of the things I saw in the lead up to this game was that it's meant to give you options. You know, you could approach it stealthily. You can get away with not killing people in certain sections, but you're right to bring up that. Does it reward you for doing that? Absolutely not in my opinion. First of all, the stealth mechanics aren't very tight. They're not very solid. It's very inconsistent, which is, if you're going to have a stealth game, if it's not very good, make sure it's at least consistent. So, you know, if you do this, it will lead to you being seen. If you don't do that, you won't. Whereas it seemed a little bit random. So it's definitely one of the weaker points of it. And because of that, I decided not to do anything stealthily. Like, I'd use my bow where I could, because I felt that's a satisfying way to kill people, but I was never actively trying to avoid things. I was like, right, get rid of them, and they ain't going to come and bite me in the arse, because I don't want to be sitting in this bush and get caught out, which was happening a few times. So yeah, I think they tried to open it up, but I don't think they quite nailed that particular aspect of it.
Yeah, and that's always my fear with these games, that try and cover all bases and go, right, it's up to you. Well, I think stealth especially is a really hard thing to master, and I think it's either stealth or it's not. I don't think you can put both options in there, because I don't think you ever really get rewarded it for doing that way, and I think you just go in there all guns blazing and just clear out the place. And by the sounds of it, that's a bit like what Lara Croft is.
Yeah.
So do you find, is there enough variety across the weapons? I mean, I know that you can almost kill anyone in a variety of different ways, and you can sort of make it a challenge, if you like, to kill people differently. Sure. But is there a lot of variety there? Do you find yourself using it, or do you just find the most efficient way and go, right, that's it, done?
Yeah, there's a lot of variety there. I mean, the bow's very helpful because it's silence, so that does keep you out of just causing mayhem. So it is quite good to pick people off. That's one part of it that is good, I guess. It's not quite stealth because you're not getting through without killing anyone, but you can pick people off quite efficiently, which is good. Or you can just go in there. You could craft, a load of explosives or Molotovs and go in there with your AK and start cleaning house. But I found that I died a lot doing that. So
is the crafting system on the fly a bit difficult? Because I know you can sort of get into cover and go, right, I want that, craft it and then throw it.
Yeah, no, I don't mind that because I don't like the fact that you can just stock up 10 grenades and it's always there for you. I like the fact that it makes you kind of, think outside the box and think, right, there's a bottle there, I need to use that. Bang, grab it, craft it, get them out of the way. And it does create that struggle, which I liked, and they borrowed that, I think, from The Last of Us, that had a on-the-fly kind of crafting system. So that's definitely a plus for me. That's
really good. So, taking all that into consideration, is this a buy it or bin it game?
It's definitely a buy it. It's no way this is a bad game whatsoever. It's a great game. It's a good game rather. It builds on what occurred on the reboot. So that would probably be, and I had this with Fallout as well, is that it doesn't push the series forward enough for me. It's very very similar to the first one, which is great if you enjoyed it, and I did, but I expect sequels to do just a little bit more in terms of their ideas. Now, it did add more tombs to it. There's, maybe a dozen or so tombs that you can go through, but there's still something there that I felt like I was still playing Tomb Raider, not Rise of the Tomb Raider. It didn't feel like I was playing the second instalment. It's almost like an extension of the first, but it is a very good game, and that you can't deny it for that. If you've not played either of them, you'll love this game. You better jump in and have great fun with it.
Yeah, I mean, as I've been sort of looking into this game a bit more recently, one thing I noticed is it does look fantastic, and it looks like the mechanics are really smooth, and it looks like they did a good job with it. But it's just, Tomb Raider is one of them really popular franchises that will attract a massive following. Yeah. And it's a case of, I suppose, if it follows what people want from it and what people expect from something so old and a classic, essentially. So. Yeah.
It's definitely a different direction, these ones. They were not, they're not catering to the old audience, but it's got modern mechanics, it plays well, and it's accessible, which is important.
And I think, we do have to realise that games have to move on, and as the meta, if you like, of gaming evolves on, they have to add certain things on that people want and are asking for. So, on that basis then, what is your official grading?
My official grading for Rise of the Tomb Raider is silver. So
that's not bad.
Comes in at a silver rating. It's never. Maybe if I was doing this for the original Tomb Raider reboot, that may have got a gold. So it's just kind of dropped off a little bit, just because I'm familiar with it, really. But in its own right, it stands on its own 2 feet. It's a very good game.
Well, there we go then.
Yeah.
Very good game.
Exactly.
I might be picking it up as well.
Well, wow. I can't see you picking it up.
No?
Nah.
I like the look of it.
You like the look of it, do you?
Yeah.
I mean, it's good. I mean, they've got bits in there like all the. So one of the things I didn't make, all the collectibles for it, an example, are all voiced. So none of this reading bollocks that lots of games do. They go, "I'll pick up that note and read it." No, tell me every single thing you pick up is voiced, which I think's good. I love that, and there's set pieces in it. They bring it on. There's a good mixture instead of action, puzzles, and exploration. So it's a good game, and it will minimalise the frustration of dying for you as much as it can. I.e., if you collect a resource and then die immediately after, that resource will stay with you. So if you've gone out your way to get something, then you
don't go
Yeah, so it doesn't just save beforehand, and then you've got to do it all again. So if you go out and do something significant, it will save it. And if you do die, it's very quick to reload back in. So it's good.
That's good then. Yeah. All round very positive.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very positive game. It's a good game, and those of you that have not got it, I would suggest you go out and get it.
There we go. Final words. I can hand the mantle back over to you now.
Yeah, well, I've just got to close the podcast down, I guess. So, everyone at home, if you're listening, @Dimp Digital's the Twitter handle. Catch us on there. Facebook.com/Dimp Digital Facebook page and dimpdigitalmedia@gmail.com. Obviously, if you're listening to this, make sure you subscribe, and what better way to do it than download Player FM's Android app. That'll get you in touch with us and connect you with other podcasts from throughout the world. The website is there, dimpdigital.com, and that'll give you the one-stop shop for everything Dimp Digital. Finally, the YouTube channel, if you just want our video content, is youtube.com/Dimp Digital. I think that's it. Nothing else for us to say apart from it's goodbye from Logan.
Bye.
It's goodbye from me, Apps. Thanks for your time, and ta-da. That to pop out
slick stuff.
Yeah, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
You didn't have to. I remember last time I done one, you were really trying to pull the questions out of me, and I was going, yep. Just one word answers. I'll let you sweat over that.
Sounded good. So that's the ultimate headset. Hall's got about 8 that he's changed between.
Why has he got so many?
Fuck knows, he must collect them.
What one do you use?
I've actually got a microphone that I bought. I must have bought this about 4 years ago.
Oh, right.
Like it's actually on a stand and whatnot. It's like 30 quid.
Oh, right.
But
the real pro.
Yeah, Logan's got one as well. Talked him into it.
He will literally do anything you do. If you got a tattoo of fucking Kaz, you get the same. Oh, you got to get one, Logan, if you want to be part of the gang.